inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Good morning, listener out there. It's Monday edition of Inside Nigeria, and I welcome you on board. And of course, I am with my regular co-host, Winifred Ogebo.
Good morning, viewers out there. I trust you had a wonderful weekend. We are back on Inside Nigeria this Monday morning to give you newspaper headlines. You're welcome.
All right, joining us this morning is our regular analyst, Taiye Odewale, an Abuja-based journalist and public affairs analyst. Odewale, welcome as usual.
Happy to be here.
How was the weekend?
We thank God Almighty.
You're welcome.
You told me you were traveling. Did you travel?
Yes, I traveled.
How was the road? How was the trip?
The road is usually it's as bad as it has been. I mean, from here to Ilorin, I don't know.
Very bad.
Around Ekiti, down to Kwara, very bad.
Well, we hope government will do
From here
something.
to Kaba, manageable.
Okay, we hope government will do something. Of course, as usual, we're starting with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, The Leadership.
Yes.
On the front page of Leadership this morning, September 1, open grazing ban deadline. We won't recognize your anti-grazing policy, Miyetti Allah tells Southern governors. September 1, open grazing ban deadline. We won't recognize your anti-grazing policy, Miyetti Allah tells Southern governors. And of course, we have riders to this story. Miyetti Allah is saying it's satanic and we hit up the polity. Backs federal government on revival of grazing routes and reserves. We are only in South for business, not grazing, herders are saying. And of course, we will know who is in charge of the states, according to the Southern governor. Odewale, what is your take?
But I think there is, for Miyetti Allah to come out that they would recognize law promulgated or enacted by state governors, means that they are capitalizing on the abnormality that we are running in this country, that we call federation. There seems to be because they know that the governors can only enact law. They don't have any body security outfit to enforce the law. So what they are really telling Nigerians is that police will not arrest anybody doing open grazing. And I doubt a governor cannot on his own go out and be running after the elders.
Exactly.
That's the reason about the governor saying that they know who's in charge. Maybe they want to use some temple to checkmate them. Wait and see, September 1 is here. It's Wednesday and
Yes.
today is Monday. But it's very, very bad, honestly speaking, for us to be a federation and then there's some states enact law and people from outside that state are saying they will not obey that law. It's very, very, very bad, honestly speaking.
And there cannot be a better word to describe the situation, as you said, abnormality. Because governors are chief executives of their state
Yes.
and the chief security officer of the state as well.
So
So they are making law in the interest of the state to safeguard against crisis. And some person are saying they will not obey the law.
And it's
But
just
then
a section of the people
in the state. But
state.
I'm not surprised, Odewale. The others might be emboldened by the stance of the federal government.
that is it now. The federal government revival of grazing
Yes,
routes and
reserve.
research. Federal government is going the opposite direction of not only southern governors, even there are some other
Yes,
governors
like,
who also support this idea of
Exactly.
Like
A ban of open grazing.
banning open grazing. But the federal government has not is yet to say anything reasonable in what other people are saying. And I think the earlier federal government look at that argument, the better, because this is a crisis in the making. Because if the headers carry out their threat that they won't obey laws promulgated by the southern government,
Of course, there will be crisis.
that they be given the resident of those states the license to also take law into their
Their own
hands
hands. There will be
by
crisis.
attacking them and then the president. So
Yeah, right.
what the federal government and state government need to quickly do something to arrest this imminent crisis.
We hope the government will do something to arrest the imminent crisis in the southwest. Winifred.
Thank you so much, Mr. Odewale, for that analysis. We are moving over to our sister publication, National Economy. National Economy this Monday morning has on its cover, the lead cover, transaction cost to fall, cross-border trade easier as CBN issues e-naira guidelines. Transaction cost to fall, cross-border trade easier as CBN issues e-naira guidelines. That is today national economy.
Odewale, the Central Bank of Nigeria is saying on October 1, you may start to spend the electronic naira.
I think from my own understanding, this is a furtherance of cashless economy. It's good, but what about the ordinary people in the market? Because even the cashless economy we are talking about, those average marketers, they don't know anything like that. They see is their own is raw cash. They transact in raw cash. They send, they collect their money, and then go to whoever they buy goods from in a bulk, pay the money, come back again. But yes, this one will help in deepening that practice of cashless economy.
Financial inclusion.
Yes.
And it will also boost revenue for banks too, because for every transaction you make, you pay you pay money
certain
to
charges.
banks.
Yes,
to the
right.
banks.
You are right.
That's
Yes.
the truth.
You're making banks to be very, very buoyant,
Exactly.
and then they're able to increase their capital base and whatever. It's good.
But importantly, we should also look at the cost of transaction that will fall. It will make transaction cost to fall and cross-border trade more easier now.
Yes, it's easier because it requires no human
Interaction
again. Since you can transfer money, yes, and then even cross-border trade easier. At the same time, it will also help a little bit in the aspect of security. So people carry raw cash, maybe attack at the border, either by bandit or Boko Haram or whatever they call it, or even conventional armed robbers. But through electronic naira, all those ones will be taken care of. It's a very good development.
All right, Odewale, let's see what your newspaper think is the biggest story for the day. And of course, we are moving to the top paper on our menu this morning, the Blueprint newspaper. On the front page of the Blueprint this morning, Matawale alerts on threats to destabilize Zamfara. As government kills Senator Nala's pilot son in Kaduna, Matawale, and of course Matawale is the governor of Zamfara State, Muhammad Bello Matawale, alerts on threat to destabilize Zamfara State. Fingers APC chieftain, troops rescue 3 victims, bandit killed 2 in Kaduna, IPAC slams plateau lawmaker over self-defense call. Nigerian Guild of Editors warn federal government states to be proactive, and of course, we must collectively tackle our security challenge, according to Blueprint Publisher, your publisher.
Yes, Matawale alert. He didn't name the APC chieftain.
Behind the crisis. So it looked like a crying wolf where there is none. Or it is mere politics.
But he is also a member of APC now.
Exactly.
He's not a member of APC.
So this is politics.
He met some people there. It's politics. He met some people there. And I think what he thought we play out is not playing out. Those people who are not cooperating with it, they're not ready to recognize him as the leader of the party. Again, the constitution of the party, which is anybody who is a sitting governor and a member of the party is the leader of the party. But they are saying, I don't want to mention this, since he refused to mention them, they are saying he's not their leader. He met them. And because of this unending banditry in the state, kidnapping, he is now saying that some people are instigating the president of Zamfara to protest without anybody instigating anybody.
But don't forget, he also called for state of emergency
in the whole of northern Nigeria. In the whole of northern Nigeria.
If you come from state of emergency, that does not mean that the government will be out of office. What does that mean? That is to
have
assembly will be
military presence in this state in order to control the menace of insecurity. Exactly, and we see how collective elected governors in charge.
It's politics.
Of course, I want to believe that. Because if you cannot mention the name of the person behind the crisis, how do you help security agencies to track down the sponsor of the crisis?
It may be true that some politicians in the same party with him want to discredit him, telling some people to go to the street and protest that security situation has even worsened than he met it. Maybe that is what that is why he's shouting out that some people are trying to destabilize his government. Wait and see, don't forget their local government congress is this coming Saturday.
For APC?
For APC. This coming September 4. It's local government congress for the party across the federation.
Okay.
So the picture will come out the more as regards different tendencies in the party in that state and some other states as well.
Okay.
Now let's look at the IPAC angle of the story, trying to condemn the Plateau State House of Assembly for calling on people to defend themselves.
I wonder why.
What is your take?
Thank you. I wonder why IPAC, whether what Plateau State House of Assembly, whether what they have done is right over. I wonder why IPAC ventured into that issue. IPAC, I think, is an association of all political
inter-party advisory
and
councils.
those who came out to make that pronouncement, they all belong to political parties. That means IPAC, they are even among the people IPAC is representing.
Exactly. And
This
they are
is
saying it's not
this
the
is
right
IPAC
thing.
supposed to leave for the state government or even federal government to address and not dabbling into it. Because, okay, what will IPAC now say to sitting governor of Katsina State?
Who first called for
Who
self
made
defense?
a similar call?
Yes.
What will IPAC say to that one? I am not justifying the call for self-defense.
Oh, okay.
Because if you say self-defense can
Create
also lead,
anarchy.
you can lead to anarchy. Because it will not be controlled. The violence will not be controlled. If the military or the police is to meet violence for violence or criminals, that one is controlled. But when you say people should go out and attack this thing, somebody can go and attack an innocent person under the guise of attacking criminals. So they have to trace something.
Well, late last night, the presidency issued a statement where President Muhammadu Buhari was said to have called on Nigerians and Plateau people to give peace a chance, and as well stop the cycle of violence against one another, saying the government is on top of the situation as well, committed to bring perpetrators of crisis to book. Do you share in this notion?
Sorry to say, I disagree with the president. Government as at now, as we are talking now, I don't know whether they have to know. Government is not on top of the situation. As far as Plateau
Crisis is
concerned.
Even violence in other parts of the country.
Security
That doesn't even limit you to that Plateau. You declare curfew, and some people will be going
During the
in the
curfew,
night.
exactly.
They declare the curfew to kill people, wipe out a whole family, and set ablaze a whole community. And you are saying you are on top of the situation. Which situation are you on top? You are not, and nobody is arrested. I don't know whether government will be on top of the situation later in the day, but as at now, government, neither the Plateau State government or the federal government, none of them is on top of the situation.
All right, Idayat, thank you. We need to go on a short break, and when we come back, Winifred, you take us through the front page of this day.
Yes.
We'll be back shortly. welcome back. It's still inside Nigeria, and of course, we are in the studio with our guest analyst, Taiye Odewale. Taiye Odewale is an Abuja-based journalist and public affairs analyst. Taiye, it has been no pleasure talking to you. And of course, Winifred will take us through the front page of this day.
Yes, this day newspaper, this Monday morning, it has on its cover, concerns mount as court injunctions, others threaten nation's democracy. Concerns mount as court injunctions, others threaten nation's democracy. Rulings for say to highest bidder, that is the rider on that story. As concerns mount as court injunctions, others threaten nation's democracy. Rulings for say to highest bidder.
Odewale, penultimate weekend leadership published a similar story where INEC actually raised concern about forum shopping by Nigerian politicians, because INEC National Commissioner Festus Okoye was there about 2 weeks ago, and he told us that forum shopping by politicians might actually threaten the 2023 general election.
It's very, very bad. Look at it. Getting injunction from Kebbi, from Calabar. I'm not limiting it to PDP. I'm not a lawyer, but I think in an IT society, seeing the national headquarters of the party is in Abuja, any litigation that has to do with the issue of a chairmanship or whatever, supposed to be attended to by a competent court of jurisdiction here in Abuja. Not that somebody will run to Kebbi. You can just imagine, want to Kebbi, go and get one injunction to counter what maybe an Abuja, yes. Another person will run to Calabar. So that I think the judiciary is supposed to help us out. Exactly. Judiciary should not allow itself to be used to truncate this democracy. And yes, anybody who approaches the court is entitled to be heard. Yes, I know. But at the same time, if a court in Abuja had given order, the person that order is against supposed to approach the same court in Abuja, that's Abuja, to vacate it.
Or the higher court in the same Abuja.
Not to run to another state and to get another order from court of what do you call it? Coordinated jurisdiction. Not even higher court. High court in Abuja, another high court in Kebbi, another high court in Calabar. That is judicial rowdiness, honestly speaking.
There is. And the CJ, Minister of Justice, there's no way they can just look into this issue and resolve it once and for all, so that there will be a seamless, working, harmonious relationship in the judiciary.
Yes, that is what exactly what I'm saying. That the judiciary should help us out. And then you have mentioned the CJN. I think he's the head of the judiciary. The head of the judiciary is supposed to meet if a court gives an order, whether mandamus or whatever their language in Port Harcourt. They're supposed to, if another person runs to Sokoto, go to Port Harcourt where that thing is given to go and vacate it there. Not that you'll be carrying this one, except if some people are behind, or some forces are behind such a move. But I think whether forces are behind it or not, judiciary is an arm of government, an independent body, supposed not to allow itself to be used
and to destabilize. See the rider again, rulings for say to highest bidder,
which is very indicting. You can just imagine.
And that shows the onus actually lies on the judiciary.
The onus lies on the judiciary.
To put it out in order.
And have you forgotten years back when Magu raided the justice's house and everybody cried foul? He said they were corrupt, and everybody said no. The manner at which you carried out your work in the, was it in Midnight Body?
Yeah, the DSS.
It was DSS.
Okay, it was DSS.
Accusing the Supreme Court justices of corruption.
It was DSS.
Even though unfortunately the DSS couldn't prove, through the EFCC couldn't prove this allegation.
Whether Magu or
all of them.
Yeah, it was Magu then.
Whether
the DSS.
Whether Magu or DSS. Yes, even if judges are corrupt, to go and raise somebody's house in the night, me, I don't like it. I don't know their modus operandi, mode of operation. But they are judges now, they can't run away. You write them or you invite them, or even during the daytime, you go there, you are needed in our office. And then you even go there with a search warrant. You search whatever you want to search, but you go in the night. That was the reason why government lost
The
the
case.
case. They couldn't
the
prove
case
the-
because the public was against that type of a thing because they may carry out that against the judges today, they may ordinary people tomorrow. People kick against that style of operation. But judiciary needs to help itself out of this quagmire. Judiciary should not allow politicians to drag it into their dirty politics. Into their dirty politics. Listening to them does not mean that you allow yourself to be dragged into it.
Yeah, Odewale, no, for me, I believe, like I said, the honors lie on the judiciary. In fact, Nigerian politicians will behave as politicians because of culture of impunity and desperation.
If I even to
So
mention
naturally, they will behave as
look
politicians.
at the chairman, the chairman of PDP Secondus. I read it in one of the paper. He said he's still in charge. That it was a lie. He didn't step down for anybody.
Yes.
Okay, what does he want to achieve? Anyway, I'm not a member of PDP. I don't need to.
Well, Odewale, Secondus has a tenure of office which elapsed in December. So I think
His tenure had elapsed since last year.
but the party has extended the tenure.
His tenure had elapsed since last year. He was voted to that office in 2016. It's for 4 years. It elapsed last year. They hid under COVID-19.
Shifted the convention.
Despite the COVID-19 as early this year or last year, they conducted world local government congresses. New executives are already in place at those levels. Only for them to suspend it, they didn't go as far as going to. Maybe they are even done that of the state. That's the reason why they are now moving towards a convention. October 30 and 31. So how will you have change the people from world local government state level and you are there as if you are elected to be there for eternity? His tenure elapsed last year. He doesn't have anything to say about that one. I'm not a member of the party, but I know PDP, tenure of a chairman or and all other executives 4 years. APC has their own timeline also.
Well, whatever it is, the CJN, Justice Tanko Mohammed, should quickly actually step in to make judiciary to save the nation democracy because the honors lies on the judiciary. Now we need to go back to the front page of Nigeria's most influential newspaper, The Leadership, for other interesting stories. The second lead story on the front page of Leadership this morning is a sad development, the killing of a son of Kebbi Senator Odewale in Kaduna yesterday. And of course, the governor has reacted, saying banditry is blind to religion and ethnicity, according to Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai. And Chief Olufalaye, a former secretary to the government of the Federation, a former finance minister, is saying President Muhammadu Buhari is not doing enough. It's on the front page of Leadership.
In fact, that story is in all the papers today. Will not be on the front page. That incident of killing of Senator Balangin Ala's son. I'm not a security expert, but one does not need to be a policeman or a DSS who want to know that the way it was reported, the killers, the way they assessed the residence, the living room of the deceased, jumping from the compound and then entering through the ceiling and then strangling him to death. I mean, it's more of assassination, not a banditry. It's more of assassination. They only went away, I think they only went away with his vehicle and some other people to deceive the police or security agency, to paint it as a robbery something. That is assassination. Armed robbers are not out necessarily to kill people. They are out to still collect whatever you have. And if you let go, nothing will happen. But for them to now go inside, kill the person, after that you not carry, that is assassination. Well, we leave the matter for the security agencies to carry out the investigation, come out with this thing. Very, very pathetic. But this was only to say that of Senator Balangin is something. Not that I'm defending this present government. Nigeria does not have technology to prevent such a crime. That crime has been part and parcel of Nigeria. I'm talking of assassination. You get what I'm saying? The one we are blaming government for is this banditry, kidnapping, and what have you. So If anybody because of that one is saying that this thing, if you catalog it right from I don't know of the First Republic, but when you take it from the military era of Yakubu Gowon down to this very moment, one assassination or the other. So it has been part and parcel for people with target another person. We don't have a CCTV camera to record how they came in, nothing to prove to say that these are the fingerprint of the people who came. No, you have to tell. Since we don't have those technology, it's very easy in Nigeria for people to go and assassinate people and then
Get away with it.
get away with it.
So look at the reaction of the Kaduna State governor saying banditry is blind to religion and ethnicity. Is that correct?
Banditry blind to religion and ethnicity.
Yeah, people of different classes and religion.
Yes, banditry and banditry. Yes, kidnapping. But the same Rufai may be contradicting himself with this one. Because the same Rufai in the blueprint last week, it was BBC Hausa program. He put the blame at the doorstep of the Fulanis. He said the Fulanis were the one carrying out banditry in his own state and most part of the northern Nigeria. And he gave reason. He said the reason is that he specifically mentioned the elders. He said that you can't expect an elder who make 10,000 naira a month or 100,000 naira a year, now find himself in a group of people. When you kidnap people,
Collecting
they give
millions.
you millions. You can't expect such a person to abandon that one and go back and be herding cows here and there. That's what he said. But if you now see it in the larger perspective that it's not only in the north that the kidnappers are operating, they are operating elsewhere. And the people doing it in other places are not Fulani. I think that's the reason why it's coming out to say it's blind to religion and ethnicity.
All right. Many thanks to you, Taiye Odewale, a journalist with the Brooklyn newspaper and Abuja-based public affairs analyst, for creating time to join us on Inside Nigeria this morning. We hope to see you again next week.
Thank you very much.
Well, we need to go on a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about deepening peace and security in Nigeria. And of course, Idayat Hassan, Director, Center for Democracy and Development, will be talking to us. We'll be back shortly. And of course, we are being joined by Idayat Hassan, a lawyer and director Center for Democracy and Development, Abuja-based, with focus deepening democracy and development in West Africa. Good morning, Idayat Hassan.
Hi, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. You're joining us on Inside Nigeria at the Leadership Broadcast Studio this morning.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to join.
All right. Just yesterday, the presidency, late night yesterday, the presidency issued a statement saying President Buhari is calling on Nigerians to give peace a chance, and as well that his government was on top of the situation and committed to bringing perpetrators of crisis to book. Now, I want to ask you, we've been hearing this often time. Is this a mere rhetoric, or is something we can take serious for now?
I think that again, this is it begs the question answer itself. We have lots of challenges as a country. It's not just about sloganeering; it's about doing the right thing. And there are several things that our government has not done, which can give sustainable peace a chance, and they really have to do this. And I think top on the table is understanding the conflict dynamics itself. What is responsible for all the challenges, the conflict challenges plaguing the sixth geopolitical zone of Nigeria? The dynamics in some cases are the same, especially when you look at some of the root causes, which we can think of as the demography, particularly the youth population and unemployment. But there are other causal issues. There are feelings of real or perceived injustices that is driving some of this conflict. The lack of that we can't help but harp on. So what has happened to people who have extrajudicially killed people, either as non-state actors or as state actors? This helps in terms of encouraging impunity. So there are hosts of challenges that needs to be addressed. And until those challenges are addressed, a focus on the kinetic measure to address the conflict itself will not lead to us nipping it in the bud.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hello, are you hearing us? Are you hearing us?
Yes, I can hear you. Please, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, I hear
All
you
right,
now.
go ahead. Go ahead.
You finished?
Yes. At least for now.
Okay. So, do you think government is doing enough in tackling security issues in Nigeria?
I think so far so good. They are doing some good work, especially when it comes to the kinetic approach. But we all know that the kinetic, as in boots on ground, are not enough response to addressing conflict. In fact, instead of addressing it, it ends up exacerbating it. So there is still a lot the government will have to do. They got to do it. It's like they do not have an option in terms of that. How many jobs are we creating? What is the infrastructure? Even with the kinetic approach of full boots on ground, when you look at the ratio of one police to a citizen, you will find that it is below the barest you can think of. When you also look at the kind of weaponry they have, you find that these weaponry are outdated. So they need to do a lot in terms of recruitment of more security people, particularly the police, so that the military will no longer be actively involved in maintaining law and order, which is the work of police in Nigeria. But beyond, and also equipping them is not just about voting money, it's addressing corruption in the procurement process. So this is also very, very important. It's a must do. And beyond all this must do, we also need a reform of the security sector in several salient ways, particularly adherence to human rights principles in prosecuting either the war against insurgency, banditry in the Northwest, or the secessionist agitation in the Southeast and now Southwest of the country. Moving away from the kinetic approach itself, the non-kinetic is the most important approach in winning the war. And that is what they try to do by issuing, part of what they are doing, reassuring Nigerians and calling for support. But it goes beyond that, because the first thing you have to do is you have to win the hearts and mind of the people. You have to make the average Nigerian the security, a security collaborator in their own community. How we have to do this, of course, is winning their hearts and mind. And you cannot win the hearts and mind of the people until you win their trust. So how do we go on trust building? How do we initiate local intelligence? But particularly, how do we start delivering public goods and services which provide basis, or which is a grievance factor for several Nigerians? So you take, for instance, conflict in the Northwest. You ask people are not just talking about grazing reserves, which have been encroached upon. Some are also talking about the lack of accountability for gross human rights violations. People are talking about lack of infrastructural development. And you talk to the Fulani, they're talking about lack of schools. So they ask, where are the schools where their children can actually access education? Before we even go ahead to talk about the quality of the education. Then when you look at the composition of all these groups, either Boko Haram, either the bandits, or you talk about even the secessionists themselves, they are largely young people. And one of the challenge is the unemployment. So how are we creating sustainable unemployment? It's not just about having an empower scheme, or you say we have trader money. How does that end up to address it? If you have empower and it gives people job for 2 years, what happens to them after 2 or 3 years again? Are we not further contributing? So we need a sustainable employment scheme that keeps people in the labor market, and an environment that is very, very friendly to both local and foreign investors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, Dad, let's talk about your work in Nigeria, the Center for Democracy and Development. Just yesterday, your organization released a press statement saying you are a beneficiary of a grant from UK government on a project called SDPS, Strengthening the Delivery of Peace and Security in Nigeria. So tell us about this project and how you intend to deploy the fund for the project.
Oh, thank you very much. I think the project is basically about contributing. Maybe we'll just put it that we want to have peace infrastructure instituted, but one that is based on evidence, but not just evidence gathering to support the work of the government, but evidence that actually helps to correct the mis and disinformation that are in the country, that is raging in the country. And this is actually driving some of the conflict. So you find that there is a fog. You ask, what is happening? People do not understand. And this is actually dividing the country further and making social cohesion to be like a scarce commodity. So this project, in a nutshell, we address this, but in several ways. So, for instance, for the government, we want to give them evidence-based approach to policies. We do not want to say that, yes, we just want to go to the Southeast and it's just IPOB that is causing unknown gunmen, or you call it IPOB. Why are they doing this? And what do the people feel should be the solution to addressing these issues? And how can it be addressed in a better way? We want to drive our evidence into policy making. But beyond that, we want to correct the mis and disinformation in the country. And I think that's very, very important to us. When you see, we just hear people who say, it's some people, unknown gunmen, it's Fulani bandits, it's something. At times, people do not even exactly understand what is happening, because the knowledge is not out there. We don't know Okay, is it if something happens in Oyo or it happens in Lagos, it has a one narrative around it. Why is that narrative? We want to tell people beyond fact checking, but this time with evidence that this is what is responsible. We want citizens themselves to have the right knowledge, because it's only when they have the right knowledge that we can win their hearts and mind, and they can even be partners to the government in terms of addressing insecurity. And one way to do this is not just only us producing evidence. We want our partners, for instance, to do investigative reporting. We want to, for instance, capacitate the media on conflict sensitive reporting such that they don't even end up heightening the tension that is already pervading the polity. So we will train them, but beyond training them, some will also have to do some form of investigative reporting where they can use their own platform as independent media to report on it. We want to use the radio as a very popular platform in Nigeria where everybody tune in to also correct some of this mis and disinformation. So we hope to have radio drama that is driven from evidence to put out the correct narrative of what is actually happening in the polity. We will also continue to counter mis and disinformation on conflict issues in Nigeria, and we will support some salient government institutions also to do their work and do it correctly here as partners for peace and a progressive Nigeria. I think that's just a bit of what we will do. Of course, we will see as the project develops, we will continue to have more to do. But the whole objective is to build towards social cohesion, a cohesive Nigeria, and reduce some of this tension that is happening with informed evidence from all sides.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we want to find out: are you just looking your project? Is it going to encompass the whole Nigeria, or you are looking at sections of the country to carry out some of these projects? And secondly, too, at the end of the day, how are you going to monitor and evaluate the sources of your project?
Oh, thank you very much. I think first and foremost is that we are going to focus a lot on the Northwest, which is an hotbed of conflict currently. But we will also do a 360 approach of a baseline of what is happening in different parts of the country. So it will, yes, so much on the Northwest, but each part of the country is important. For instance, the Southeast, the Southwest, which are not which used not to be conflict zone, the way the north, south, and the northeast, where we already work, really are. So all the dynamics of conflicts are what we will use. But our narrative building in partnership with the NOA would be one that will work on a national level. So, what are the narratives? What is the one that makes a Yoruba man to understand what is actually happening in the land of a Hausa or Fulani thief man, and see that this conflict, whatever affects the Northeast, for instance, do affect them in Lagos. So this is very, very important, really, for us. And our monitoring and evaluation strategy are already ingrained from the onset. So we do evaluation not just on activity, but also on uptake. So how many people have we been able to get to our side? What has been the response? Not just seeking beneficiaries and saying, oh yeah, we trained 50 journalists. That's, yes, that is important. But what did the 50 journalists did? You put me on leadership today. How is it that we engaged leadership or a journalist from leadership actually benefited? We want to see his reporting and the reporting of leadership in subsequent months to see how we have actually collaborated. So it's not just about monitoring and evaluation in terms of ticking the boxes. It's about impact assessment and evaluation, which experts who are very good in this field are already embedded in it from the onset. Then we also want to learn So learning is actually a very important one. So what have we learned from doing this project, and how will this learning help not just in improving CDD's work, but in the work of partners, in the work of other partners who are in the same field, that are supporting this, that are in the same field and may implement similar projects, so that they get away from making this kind of, they avoid the kind of mistakes we might actually have encountered in our work, and also to avoid duplication. Yeah.
All right, Idayat, finally, let me ask you, with the ongoing ethno-religious crisis in Plateau State and banditry in the northwestern part of the country, there are stakeholders with the opinion that self-defense can actually be employed to tackle this crisis. What is your take on the concept of self-defense has been championed by the Katsina State government and the Plateau State House of Assembly?
I think that self-defense is very, very wrong. And self-defense has never worked in any part of the world. Not Nor will it work in Nigeria. And I think the lack of the self-defense issue comes in because of some of these challenges that I've earlier mentioned. The capacity of the state to respond to the crisis, which continues to be very low. Self-defense, I think, is the last thing we should ever think of. Self-defense. By self-defense, even when we talk about self-defense, it should not be taking up arms against these bandits. Self-defense should be within the context of providing information that serves as early warning, and finally becomes early response for security agencies. Self-defense should be one where we know that as actors, our security is in our hand. We have to collaborate. We have to start looking for intelligence. Then we have to also sort for local responses that has worked previously. So what are our own local mechanisms in terms of addressing conflict? These are the kind of things we should be talking about as our contribution, and as kind of self-defense that we are using to bolstering security in the state, not self-defense that helps in the proliferation of arms and ammunition. And that arms and ammunition will continue to be around. In fact, when you talk about self-defense, our history has shown that it allows us in a very ethno-religious divided polity to harm the other. So it should not even be the result. And it must be rejected by the federal level, not just by rejection by words of mouth, but ensuring that the proper things are done in terms of capacitating the military and the police and other security agents, and ensure that they also operate within the rules, how do we call it? Is it the rules of engagement? They abide by the rules of engagement. Within the rules of engagement itself, it's something that should never happen, and it should not at any cost be encouraged.
All right, many thanks to you, Idayat Hassan, lawyer and director, Center for Democracy and Development, an Abuja-based think tank with the focus on deepening democracy and development in West Africa. We hope to see more of you at the Leadership Podcast Studio.
Thank you very much. It's a
And
pleasure.
let me also tell you that Leadership Media Group is ready to help CDD deliver its mandate.
Hello.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. We've been talking to
Hello. Thank you.
We've been talking to Idayat Hassan, director, lawyer at Center for Democracy and Development, and she has shared many insights about the mandate of the organization on entrenching peace and development in Nigeria. Winifred, it's time to go.
Yes, it's time to go. Thank you so much, viewers out there, for keeping in touch, for keep being with us today, Monday, for fresh runs of news making the rounds in the country today. Thank you so much.
All right, keep it there with us tomorrow for another edition of Inside Nigeria at the Leadership Podcast Studio. My name is Body Gbadebo. Bye for now.
Bye.